I don't know how this is humanly possible.
Hey guys, how are you doing? Johnny, Mike, and Mike. Okay, Mike's here, Mike H. How are you doing? Nice to speak to you.
Nice to speak to you too.
No.
Thanks for having us.
So first of all, congratulations on the film. It's a wacky film. It could quite easily be written off as a, kind of these wacky, cheesy Sharknado type things because it kind of comes across like that at first, but it works so much better than that in so many different ways. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's the first thing I want to ask you basically is I mean it's a really fine line to go between kind of when you're paying so much unashamed homage to films, but also at the same time kind of being kind of tacky and cheesy on purpose, very tongue in cheek. It's a very fine line to navigate. So I'm kind of curious how you went about that from the word go before you even sat down to put pen to paper.
Gosh, that's a great question. When the idea came, we knew that we were going to have to defy some expectations because no offense to the schlocky sort of mockbuster Sharknado stuff at all. That's a lane, and but we knew the title, The Invisible Raptor, would kind of get that immediate expectation. And we didn't set off to write a movie like that. Our concept came from a joke, kind of the idea of writing a Jurassic Park movie without any visual effects whatsoever, so we can actually make a movie without spending too much money. That was sort of the impetus, but we've wanted to write a film. We wanted to write a film with characters and heart and an actual story, an original story. So with parody, I feel like parody a lot of times it's just kind of scene to scene to scene in a sort of comedic copycat, right? We wanted to just tell an original story with a high premise concept, which is an invisible dinosaur.
Yeah, full of homages.
Yeah, and
Full of homages.
it lent itself, with Jurassic Park, sort of Goonies, Gremlins, all those films that we grew up watching. This concept really lent itself to it. The character could be sort of Indiana Jones-esque. A lot of it sort of lent itself to those homages as we were going. It kind of just fit in. We never felt like we were forcing anything or pushing anything. And I think that was our rule for comedy. Let's not push the comedy. Let's just keep it balanced and grounded. Let's keep the gore fun, comedic, but also if we can get scary, great. I think we always just wanted to not push, and I think that kind of kept us in a nice area where it didn't go too parody and didn't go too.
Yeah. No,
The
yeah,
Invisible
kind of
Raptor.
curious. Sorry.
No, the Invisible Raptor is what happens when nobody tells you no.
That too. No, no.
No, I was gonna say
When nobody tells the filmmakers no, and you can just continue to like be creative and weird and churn things out, even through ADR, through the edit, all the way to the end. This is what you get. I mean, we were lucky not to have any like studio notes or, our investor was amazing.
Also, we didn't know that going in, but we also didn't know that anyone would ever give us money to make a movie going in.
Well, exactly, which is exactly the point.
we-
We didn't know we were going to have any. We just wrote it, not knowing anyone would say yes either. So
Yeah,
it's
so
what
we
happens when you
wrote-
don't think anybody would say yes, and then when you don't think anybody's going to say no, and then when nobody says no.
Yeah, somehow that worked out for us.
So, I mean, you said that you didn't get any notes to the film. I mean, for example, the film is the ambling force is very strong with this one, for example. But I imagine, even though I love that the fact that you wear the ambling on your sleeve so unabashedly. But there must be kind of like this line where you're like, hang on, it's great that we're doing this, but we've got to not push it too far that people are going to not take it seriously, or like kind of people who love those films aren't going to take the film seriously, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think we went for it and we never even questioned ourselves or what we're doing because if it made us laugh, we just went for it and did it, and it felt right and it felt natural, and that's what movie making should be.
And it works perfectly. Yeah, Ashley, go for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, obviously you guys, I think you said, for like Fright Fest interviews and stuff, that you wanted to make a dinosaur movie, and we've got the Invisible Raptor, which is a brilliant idea, but it was an idea, I understand, that was born out of necessity rather than that initial creative spark. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think, when I had the idea, I saw the movie in my head. It was one of those 3 a.m. wild, ridiculous thoughts. And when I was seeing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's God, the guys and I, we've always wanted to make a movie, and but we can't afford special effects. So why not make a film? Why not make the hardest visual effect to make, the most expensive, which is Jurassic Park, and then just take that out of the equation, and there you go. We can actually make a Jurassic Park type of movie. And also there was the whole thing with Jaws, like, when you don't see the creature, it adds more suspense but also
Absolutely.
movies, when you do finally see the creature, sometimes it ruins it. I know a lot of people didn't like Signs once they saw the alien. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is the best part of our movie. We're never going to show it to you.
I will say that this movie would have been infinitely easier to make had there been an actual raptor in it. It turns out it's not easy at all. Like, you have to like think about each scene so carefully when there's no raptor in there. And then, like, of course you think that there's not going to be visual effects, but we had like 500 shots. So, like, there are.
It turns out it's a little harder to make an Invisible Man type of movie, and it also forces you to be more creative, which I think is super fun. We had a blast coming up with the ways you see it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing where people are reacting to nothing. There's no tennis ball, there's no green screen or anything like that. It was a lot of fun to watch, and I know David Shackelford had said that actually his favorite scene in the whole movie was where they were all having to imagine carrying, the tranquilized dinosaur. How much fun was that to shoot? And given the very nature of what you were doing, just how much laughter was there on set? How much corpsing was going on? And Mike H, were you having to kind of lay down the law a little bit?
I mean, that was one scene that I think we were all looking forward to, is like, to Mike's point, the promise of the premise where they're actually interacting with this raptor. And that's when we just got wide and just let the characters live in the scene, because that's what the people want, and there was a lot of laughter. And I mean, they played it very well, as if, there was actually a raptor there.
I wanted to come back to you. I mean, you said that obviously it was difficult to create the idea of a raptor being there that wasn't there. But I was looking at one of the special effects guys was Steve Johnson, he had an uncredited role on Predator. So I imagine when he came on, he was like, "Have you seen Predator? We can do that." No?
That's funny. I didn't know Steve. We have to ask him what his involvement was with Predator. So Steve came on after reading our script pretty early on. Our producer Nick Neary got it to him, and he called us up and said, "Hey guys, this is one of the funniest things I've ever read." And he's like, "And I worked on Ghostbusters." So, and we were already kind of giddy when he was saying this, because he is the guy who sculpted Slimer for the original Ghostbusters, and he also did all the practical effects for Big Trouble in Little China, Species. He built Doc Ock for the original Spider-Man 2. He built the tentacles, and so Steve had quite a history in there. So when we got him to come on to do our practicals for An Invisible Dinosaur, we were pretty stoked. Like, that really upped our game. And we got to talk with him a lot about designing some really fun, gory kills. So that was really fun to do as well.
Yeah, it definitely added some credibility to the team. We were really stoked to have him on board. Some 80s credibility to that.
It's fantastic. I also read that he did the Freddy Krueger's death sequence at the end of Elm Street 4, which is an amazing scene. Because I think it was actually people inside a huge Freddy when they filmed that one. It was a crazy effects.
I saw that. Crazy story. The first movie set I ever got to go on was Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Really?
And it was just sheer chance that my mom met Robert Englund. She was going to college down where they shot this. It was at a lake near where we live, but they turned it into a beach. It's the scene where the claw comes flying through the like a shark fin, and then turns into the claw through the sand. And they were shooting that sequence, and I got to actually sit down with Robert Englund. He let me put on his original Nightmare on Elm Street glove, and I knew it was the original because he wrote 1 inside the palm. And he let me wear that. He signed my shirt. I was in Catholic school, so I had this I'd never washed my shirt kind of thing. And that was the first set I ever visited, was Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Oh, fantastic story.
Yeah.
Ashley?
Oh, that's so cool, man. And you mentioned, obviously, Steve said it was one of the funniest things that he'd read in a long time, and it must have been, because I understand that Caitlin Stamos came out of acting retirement, right?
Yeah, yeah, she did. We had her in mind for the character of Amber, and we ran into her at a party, and Johnny was like, "Hey, Caitlin's here. Let's pitch her. Let's see if she'll jump on board." And she hadn't read the script yet. We just had told her, "Hey, we have this script. We're making this movie." And she told us, she was like, I'm retired. I got a family now. I'm doing this." And I said, I'm like, "Well, let me just send you the script." So then we literally heard back that night, and it was one of those all caps texts. And she texts me, "This is the funniest script I've ever read. I'm in." And then she told us later, and John, her husband, told us later that he was in the other room just listening to her laugh. He's like, "I've never heard my wife laugh like that." And I had to walk into the room and go, "What is so funny? What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm reading Mike's script. I want to do this movie." And then she jumped on.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
It was cool.
That's
It was
lovely.
cool.
We can't not. I mean, you mentioned that she came into the film because it was just so funny. We've got to talk about a cameo at the beginning of the film as well. We all know that a certain member of the Goonies is in there, and it's quite. I don't know if this is just me reading way far too between the lines, but I think that in Jurassic Park, Nedry's character pays kind of homage to various Goonies with the wardrobe, and I get the feeling that you're doing something similar as kind of like payback in this film.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
On the
So
first
if
Easter egg.
you see Nedry throughout Jurassic Park, he's dressed like Chunk, Mouth, and Mikey. He's got some wardrobe piece. So we decided to dress our Nedry, who's played by Mikey from the Goonies, as Nedry. So we flipped that little tidbit on its head.
Yeah, chances are if you watch the movie and you think, I wonder if they were going for this, we were. Like we like painstakingly went through the script with a fine-tooth comb to lay in as many Easter eggs. This more than a horror comedy. This is a vehicle for Easter eggs. This is like the biggest Easter basket you could imagine of a movie, just chock full to the brim of Easter eggs. And we challenge everyone to point them out and find them on the internet because we have a running list that actually we're forgetting to add to. Like it's pretty long at this point because we had to go back through and find them, but it's loaded. It is loaded full.
You know,
Oh, but-
and
Yeah,
Sean,
Sorry.
oh sorry.
I was just going to say
talk about
kudos
it.
to you because a film that is so packed full of Easter eggs from other people's films, usually people kind of roll their eyes, but this just doesn't happen one time for me at all. So
Thank you.
it's really, really well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was going to say Sean Astin, when one that came day up on set. Sean Astin, his character's fate is his eye gets ripped out. I don't think that's a bad spoiler. It happens in the opening of the movie. But we asked him on set, his original character's name in the script was Bernie, because there's another element that happens to him. But we asked Sean if he would be okay with changing his character's name to Willie, and Sean goes, "One eye, yes," and he was super on board. So that's another really cool nod if you listen for the character's name. And
No, yeah. I didn't pick that up in the film. I picked it up afterwards when I was researching for the interview, and I realized that what you'd done there. Yeah, brilliant. So
yeah.
actually, just one question before we've got to jump out of here.
Yeah, there's so many more questions I could ask, but one that I wanted to bring up was merchandising, because I understand that you had an Invisible Raptor merchandising, so that's like, there he is, beautiful.
There it is.
Like the next level on from like the
Got my
fog,
Christmas
isn't it?
stocking list right away.
Bit of cotton wool in the thing. I mean, that's awesome, because I know it went down so well with Fright Fest fans. You went back twice, didn't you? You were Glasgow and London, and I think you were asked about the merch a lot. And I just wanted to ask, whose idea was that? Was that marketing, or is that one of you guys that was like, you know what, we need to put this in?
Yeah, that was me.
That was Kate. That was Kate.
Yeah, I think, it's funny. When I think of movies, I always think of the 80s movies. I think of the stuff I grew up on. So the first thing I thought was, well, if we're doing an Amblin 80s sort of homage, what do they always have? Action figures and cereal, breakfast cereals. So we do have we're going to eventually hopefully have an Invisible Raptor breakfast cereal.
Low
inside. Empty package.
And and then the empty the Invisible Raptor action figure, which my favorite bit here is you can collect them all right here. And so yeah, we had a blast making it, and that was, it's funny, in film school that's one of the things they always said when Spielberg and Lucas broke the fourth wall of the cinema and decided to make action figures and breakfast cereals. I'm like, well, let's lean in on that. So, and guess what? It's very cheap on our end.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Thank you.
Sadly, they're pulling us out, but congratulations, 100 congratulations on the film. It's so good, so fun. I can't wait for people to see it, and I hope maybe we get to speak about a sequel or something like that sometime soon.
Oh yeah,
we got plans.
Also, you can pre-order the movie right now on Apple TV Plus. So if anyone wants to pre-order the Invisible Raptor, Apple TV Plus, and then the merch that we were showing, the hat and the action figure, the InvisibleRaptor.com is where you can find merch.
Perfect, just in time for Christmas. Excellent.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect stocking stuffers.
Thank you so much, guys. It's really been great to speak to you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. All the best.
You're slipping! How did you make raptors?
Did you see Jurassic Park?
Yes.
We did that.
But how did you make it invisible?
Did you see the Invisible Man?
Stop! Don't say anything. I hate spoilers.